All right, welcome to the 57th episode of the Revolutionary Code, where we bring you the truth about how governmental politics actually works in every facet of human existence and how that affects our people, Black people here in America. I am your host, Brother Tamani M. Downey out of Houston, Texas. I am the direct revolutionary product of one Cardinal and Bayou Chewy out of the Shrines of the Black Madonna, and the indirect revolutionary product of one Albert B. Clegg, African name, Jaramogi Baby Ajiman, the father of liberation theology and the founder of the Shrines of the Black Madonna. I am also the founder of the Black Gold Nation movement. My co-host, the National Director of Political Strategy and Implementation for the Black Gold Nation movement, and the chairman of LACE, Liberation Advocates for Community Empowerment, the intellectual gangster, corporate grassroots revolutionary, and master domino assassin from Shreveport, Louisiana, aka The Boot, Brother Craig B. Lee. Brother Craig, how you doing this evening?
I am doing absolutely irie. I've had my vegetation this evening from Orlando's, the tanky salad, which includes chicken and shrimp, and white folks were piled up in there.
All right.
We'd have moved up like the damn Jeffersons on the lake with great food. So I'm hyped.
Amen, amen. All right, so before we get started this evening, let me let you guys know a little bit about the Black Gold Nation movement, what we're trying to do. Our ultimate goal is to put our people in the position by which we can own and or control the environment where we live, where we exist. We believe that if we cannot control that space, if we cannot control that environment, which starts with politics, we are always going to be controlled by other people. So when other people are in control of the space where our people live, we lose, period, every single time. When we allow other people to control any aspect of that space, any system within that environment that other people control, we always find ourselves on the bottom of that system, regardless if it's the agricultural system, the political system, the educational system, the security system, the spiritual system, the agricultural system, any systems within the spaces where we live. When other people control those systems, we always find ourselves on the bottom. So since we no longer want to be on the bottom, since we no longer want to right out lose, what we're saying in the Black Gold Nation is that we absolutely must control the spaces where our people live as much as possible. And when we cannot control those spaces because we may not have the numbers, then we most certainly want to have political leverage. So we are not here, Brother Craig and I, to just entertain you and educate you. We are trying to get you to do something. We want to identify Black people who want to do something, bring them into a movement that's all about doing, and then show them how they can be a part. So we're not here to just inform and educate. We're trying to inform, educate, motivate, mobilize, organize, and build. Every single thing we do is about bringing our people together to find the right people so we can build something that matters, something that has power, so we can give it to our children and they can run their leg of the race as best they can, not behind anybody else, but hopefully if we do it the right way, they'll have an immense lead. So tonight's show title is The Political Pimp Game of Benign Neglect. The Political Pimp Game of Benign Neglect. So I am going to show a video, and as we did once before, as we're going through this video, Brother Craig is going to dissect it. I was making a list of questions, but that didn't seem to be the best way to go about doing it. So we're going to show the video. I'm going to share it. Then as we go through it, Brother Craig is going to break it down and let me know when I need to pause it. Tell you guys about that particular aspect of the video, and then we will just go from there. So give me a quick second to share my screen, and then we will get this thing moving. All right, you guys should be able to see my screen right now. Can you see the screen? 2 people verify? I need 2 people to let me, cool, that's 1. All right, 1 more, anybody? Cool, thank you, Lord. All right, here we go.
2 words, benign neglect. Benign neglect is the unofficial policy of ignoring Black issues and never committing to putting forth policy and or legislation that will exclusively benefit Black Americans. All conversations surrounding Black issues, let alone policy and legislation, must always incorporate the terms people of color, minority, marginalized groups, and at the bare minimum, Black and brown. Doing this effectively dilutes Black issues, which then by default dilutes the solutions needed to correct them. Though
Stop. You got to go back to the beginning. You didn't start it at the beginning.
Oh, Are you? Oh, it started on my end from the beginning. Okay, I'll start back over. All right. So he starts with the definition. So let me know if you can hear it because all right.
2 words, benign
Okay.
neglect.
Did you hear that? 2 words?
Yeah, got it.
Cool. All right, here we go.
Benign neglect is the official, unofficial policy of ignoring black issues and never committing to putting forth policy and or legislation that will exclusively benefit black Americans. All conversations surrounding black issues, let alone policy and legislation, must always incorporate the terms people of color, minority, marginalized groups, and at the bare minimum, black and brown. Doing this effectively dilutes black issues, which then by default dilutes the solutions needed to correct them. Though benign neglect is practiced by both the Democrats and the Republicans, the Democratic Party has mastered the art of benign neglect due to the fact that black Americans are their political base. Now, what I'd like to do is show you a few examples of Democrats going out of their way to ignore and talk around black issues. These are the real-life examples of benign neglect.
Why not target the African American community? Why not say then, this is for you? This is for African Americans. If there was a banking crisis, then you target money for the banks. If there was a national disaster, you target your money for the national for disaster relief.
That's not how America works. America works when all of us are pulling together and everybody is focused on making sure that every single person has opportunity.
So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No, because whatever benefits that black family will benefit that community and society as a whole in the country. Right?
Vice President Biden, do you support reparations?
Look, I mean, since I haven't spoken on this, got a chance. Number one, the reason we're the country we are is because of immigration. We've been able to cherry pick the best from every single continent. The people who come here have determination, resilience. They are ready to stand up and work like the devil. We have 24 out of every 100 children in our school today is Hispanic. The idea that we are going to walk away and not provide every opportunity for them is not only stupid and immoral, but it's bad for America. They are the future of America, and we should invest in them. Everybody will benefit from it, every single American, and you should get used to it. This is a nation of immigrants. That's who we are. That's why we're who we are. That's what makes us different, and we should invest in them.
Thank you, Mr. Biden. Senator Klobuchar, you had your hand up.
When Barack Hussein Obama, America's first biracial president, was asked the question, why not target the black community directly? And he replied,
No.
Disaster relief.
That's not how America works.
Obama was 100% correct when he stated that's not how America works. In fact, it hasn't worked that way since 1970, because this was the year that Daniel Patrick Moynihan, advisor to President Richard Nixon, submitted his 10-page memorandum to the president. And the opening paragraph reads, "As the new year begins, it occurs to me that you might find useful a general assessment of the position of Negroes at the end of the first year of your administration and of the decade in which their position has been the central domestic political issue." Now, the memorandum would go on to chronicle the decade of the 60s, discussing the progress made by black Americans, as well as their shortcomings that still needed improvement. But it's not until page 7 that the 2 words that would annihilate black American politics for the next 50 years would appear. The time may have come when the issue of race could benefit from a period of benign neglect. The subject has been too much talked about. The form has been too much taken over by hysterics, paranoids, and boodlers on all sides. We may need a period in which Negro progress continues and racial rhetoric fades. The administration can help bring this about by paying close attention to such progress as we are doing, while seeking to avoid situations in which extremists on either race are given opportunities for martyrdom, heroics, histrionics, or whatever. Greater attention to Indians, Mexican Americans, and Puerto Ricans would be useful. I'm going to repeat that last sentence again. Greater attention to Indians, Mexican Americans, and Puerto Ricans would be useful. Now, you see, it's at this moment that the American government made its decision to ignore black politics and shift the conversation to Native Americans and immigrants. Now, fast forward to 2020, and that list now also includes not only Native Americans and immigrants, but the LGBTQ, as well as women's issues by way of feminism. all the while ignoring Black American politics. Now, one of the newest ways that we watched women's and LGBTQ rights issues used to neutralize Black issues have been in the Black Lives Matter movement. You see, when you say Black Lives Matter, you've said all that needs to be said, because the problem at hand is police brutality against Black Americans. But once you start interjecting hashtags into it like say her name or Black Trans Lives Matter, you effectively turned it from an issue about police brutality against Black people to an issue of feminism and to an issue of LGBTQ struggles. The Black Lives Matter movement has been so strategically fragmented that we've come to the point to where now people say all Black lives matter. That's how fragmented it is. When speaking on matters of immigration, you never hear anybody say, well, what about all immigrants? What about LGBTQ immigrants? What about female immigrants? What about the LGBTQ Jews? What about female Jews? What about all Jews? It's only Black issues that get fragmented in this way. Now, over the course of the past 12 years, the Democratic Party has truly mastered the art of benign neglect by coming to the understanding that the best way to ignore Black politics is to do it in blackface. Now, for starters, don't let it go over your head that the family lineage of the first so-called Black president and possible vice president don't actually come out of the slave plantations of America. They have no ties to the legacy of slavery and the hardships of Jim Crow. Barack Hussein Obama, whose mother was white and his father was Kenyan, moved to Indonesia when he was 6 years old. He moved back to Hawaii when he was 10, where he was raised by his white grandparents. Kamala Devi Harris, whose mother is Indian and her father is Jamaican, was born in Oakland and moved to Montreal, Quebec, Canada when she was 12 years old. Now, why does that matter? Well, that matters because you don't even begin to form a general understanding of who you are and how the world works and what's your place in it until your teenage years. From 1 to 5 years old, you don't even know that you're alive. And from 5 to 12 years old, life is simply about how many days it is until my birthday, is it Christmas yet, when is Halloween, and can we go to Chuck E. Cheese? Your teenage years are your most critical years as it pertains to the development and understanding of the world around you, as well as who you actually are as you head into adulthood. And this time period for her was spent in a completely different country, attending a French-speaking primary school and high school. Upon graduating high school was when she moved back to the States to attend college. You see, these type of folks are passing for Black because they grow up having no real connection to Black Americans, but once they enter politics, they then ride the wave of slavery and Jim Crow to legitimize a Blackness within them that doesn't exist. And this is the brilliance behind the Democrats' mastery of benign neglect. You see, because if I can get a so-called Black president or possible vice president to say,
I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. No.
Well, then that justifies politicians ignoring Black issues on all levels of politics. Because how are you going to call a non-Black politician racist for ignoring you when so-called Black presidents and vice presidents have already done the same?
Were you aware that your great-great-grandfathers were slave owners in Alabama before the Civil War? And has that revelation caused you to change your position on reparations?
You know, I find myself once again in the same position as President Obama. We both oppose reparations, and we both are the descendants of slaveholders.
You see how that works? So now, because they have no policy for you, they have to sell you on their Blackness. This is why Kamala Harris lied about smoking weed, listening to Tupac and Snoop Dogg in college, despite the fact that she graduated college in the 80s. This is why the Dems put out this awkward video of her dancing to Cardi B. This is why articles and videos of her keep coming out discussing her shoe game. I literally could keep going on and on, giving you example after example, but I'm gonna end it here by showing you this last clip of an interviewer asking Kamala a very serious question about the contradiction in views between her and Joe Biden. And the response she gives is an extremely awkward, high-pitched rant about being a Black girl who likes hip-hop.
You supported the Green New Deal. You supported Medicare for all. You've supported legalizing marijuana. Joe Biden doesn't support those things. So are you going to bring the policies, those progressive policies that you supported as senator, into a Biden administration?
What I will do, and I promise you this, and this is what Joe wants me to do, this was part of our deal. I will always share with him my lived experience as it relates to any issue that we confront. And I promised Joe that I will give him that perspective and always be honest with him.
And is that a socialist or progressive perspective?
No. No, it is the perspective of a woman who grew up a black child in America, who was also a prosecutor, who also has a mother who arrived here at the age of 19 from India, who also, you know, likes hip hop. Like, what do you want to know?
Well, I want to give you the opportunity to address this.
What is she talking about? This woman is so thoroughly conditioned to deflect and sell her blackness that she even does it when benign neglect isn't even warranted. Now, I don't know about you, but I know that me, myself, on election day, I will not be rewarding a party who constantly disrespects me to my face while pretending to be my friend. I'm not getting behind a party who my people have supported since 1964, giving them a supermajority election after election, only to do nothing for them in return. Once again, I don't know what you're going to do, but for me, it's no tangibles, no vote, no black agenda, no vote, no reparations, no vote. 2 words: benign neglect.
All right, Brother Chris.
Woo! Gangster. Gangster, brother. Gangster.
Okay. I was expecting you to let me know when you want to pause it. So I guess we watched the whole thing. So
I wanted the whole thing to go through and let people digest it, and then we can go back and ask questions. But I did want to point out one of the key things in it. And this is why I tell Negroes all the time, you got to understand that black is not skin pigmentation.
that's right.
Blackness is not skin pigmentation. It is not aesthetics. That's melanin. That's melanin. Blackness is a state of mind. And because our people don't understand that, they get constantly played and pimped by the Democratic Party. I loved the clip on Mitch McConnell. I mean, look how clever that is. Look how clever it is. They're gonna ask Mitch about reparations and all of that. And look at what Mitch said. I'm just like Obama. Both against reparations. And look at the coup de grace. We're both descendants of slave owners. God dang. So the Negro, this is why we did the show a few weeks ago on the ability to think and do critical thinking. Brother, if you are not trained at how to think and critically think and understand the wordplay and the symbolism, there ain't nowhere in the world you'll figure this out. Because the white folks understand that the Negro is so caught up into aesthetics and not substance, superficiality and not substance, that they can parade an entity like Barack Obama, who is actually related to Dick Cheney and George Bush, and get away with it because the Negro is like happy to see somebody who perceptively looks like them. Although they don't think like them or feel like them, they're able to now put them in front of you and say, man, look at what we've helped y'all do. Y'all should be happy. Y'all should be so pleased. And we get caught up in all this goddamn symbolism that don't mean a damn thing. So let's start the question, brother. That was my commentary. I hope the people who are watching understand what the concept now of benign neglect, because this is the game that's been played on our folks. And so now the Republican Party is finally gotten in the game with their brand of Negro. like Candace Owens and Allen Houston and all of these. I mean, hey, Negroes like, hey, we can't get in and prostitute ourselves and do fellatio with the Democrats. We're gonna do it with the goddamn Republican Party.
Right.
We'll be your prostitute now.
So what is your most impactful takeaway from that video? What jumps out to you the most from that video?
The most?
Yeah.
Is the fact that this has been played on our folks for, he said since 1964, but this game has been going on. If you read Dr. Carter G. Woodson's Miseducation of the Negro, he talks about this in the 1920s.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not anything new, whether it's the Republican Party of Lincoln or the current party of so-called JFK and Bill Clinton and Obama. It's the same game. The whole perspective, when you have to now get into the hardcore discussions about public policy concerning African descendants in this country, there's always going to be a banana in the tailpipe. And the Negroes, since they don't know how to think, they're going to, by default, roll with the bullshit because they don't see any other way because they don't know how to think. And that's why our focus is at the local level where you have majority African American cities. We go focus our attention on those areas and we take them over. And we gain leverage in other places like Houston and Dallas, where we do have 20, 30% population. So we can pick up a few seats and establish some economic structure at that point. But that's the biggest takeaway, that this has been going on for since we come out of slavery. I mean, yeah, this has been the game.
And I'm glad you mentioned policy because I looked up the definition of benign neglect, and it says it's defined as a policy or attitude of ignoring a situation instead of assuming responsibility for managing or improving it. So it says a policy.
A policy
attitude, right? So if it's a policy, what does that mean? It's policy.
That means just like when the Cowboys and the Saints play, and they have and they run their plays from what?
Playbook.
Exactly. The goddamn playbook.
Right.
The Democrats and the Republicans. And our people, man, it's like I've been teaching this stuff for 3 decades. And so when I ran across the video, that's why I sent it to you and Lloyd, so you all can understand. And this is why anybody who is telling me any goddamn thing about the Democratic or Republican Party, I just laugh at them. Because brother, unless you're talking about being a double agent for the in the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, if you're trying to sell me on them doing something for us, you're retarded. Something is wrong with you.
Yes, and a lot of us don't seem to. We have yet to come to grips with the fact that if it's policy, if that's the playbook, that means it is intentional.
Exactly.
And if it's intentional, that means that they do not care.
Exactly.
So you know as well as I do, and you mentioned this a lot when you're talking about when you were trying to figure out what do Black people want after all the protests. Whenever a Black person gets brutalized by the police, you're trying to figure out what do these Negroes want, and you said, we really want white people to love us, white people to respect us and accept us. And of course that's not going to happen because that's not how this game is played, at least not those with power. So what is the what is the reverse? If we know that what has been happening to predominantly Black spaces since we got out of chattel slavery, if all of this stuff has been on purpose, if benign neglect is policy, that's the playbook, it's on purpose. What's how do we flip it? What is the answer to a purposeful policy of neglect. And what is that answer? And how do we begin to get our people on board with that answer?
Get your punk ass off the goddamn sideline. Do some goddamn push-ups. Drink some goddamn almond milk and get in the damn game. And you have to now start to mobilize and organize grassroots people who can think, who got courage, who got some perspective. And again, we have to operate at the local level, because you're not going to operate at no damn national and regional level, state level, international level. One of my supporters today sent me a video of a little guy who became a state rep, and now his punk ass is running for state senate or the U.S. Senate, some stupid ass shit. I mean, it's just, I feel so bad for our people, because when I really sat back and thought about this, I was like, if you really sit and think about this for real, the best perspective that our people have, and even for white folks, for real, but definitely for African descendants, the best perspective that we have dealing with in a goddamn election goes back to high school and junior high school elections. Somebody running for goddamn homecoming court, SGA president, and they were always voted on based on what? Popularity. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's about as good as it gets. Because they don't know. The people, you know, your preachers say vote for them, I'm going to vote for them.
Yeah.
My mama said, I remember in 1995, I had just resigned from Astra to start working with my good colleague, Willie Bradford. And he was running for Caddo Parish Commission here. And he had done a lot of grassroots work, right? He wasn't necessarily, in your face grassroots cat like myself, but he was or is a grassroots cat, right? Mm-hmm. And so, but he worked for our top hospital. So a lot of people was calling him sellout and all this, but he's solid, you know. So I'm knocking on doors, the same thing that you're gonna start doing with Lloyd. Lloyd is gonna get his ass out there and knock on some doors too. And we started getting this information as we're selling Brother Willie. And I was like, we would really like your vote for Willie Bradford for a Caddo Parish Commissioner. And it's like, nah, we're gonna vote for David Winder. I say, first off, David Winder ain't running for the goddamn seat. He just a token. He don't do nothing. Whoop the whoop the whoop. And I say, man, y'all know this dude don't do nothing for you. Why are you gonna vote for him? You know what he Negro said? He bonded my son out of jail.
That's right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So because you paid him now, he do it for free now. Because he performed a service
that you paid for.
Paid for. Your crazy ass is gonna vote for him to keep on representing you. Mm-hmm. His son, David Jr., had gotten arrested for drug distribution. Good guy, but he got caught up. But because David is in the political realm, David Jr. didn't get a lot of time. Mm-hmm. Your son got busted. His ass gonna do 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
I'm like, y'all don't get this? And so I told Willie, I say, Willie, you're not going to change these people's mindset. We got to go to another part of your district where they're not committed to David, and now get those people to look at voting for you. Willie was behind David. He made it to the runoff. He was behind Mr. Winder by 650 votes. We had a month to cut this lead down. And this was my first grassroots political work in Shreveport. And Willie allowed his team to follow my game plan. Man, we cut a 650 vote deficit down to 100, and I think Willie lost by 115 votes. If we had another month, we would have won. You know, but he had to shift gears and go to people who were not dedicated to voting for David Winan because they were not going to rock and roll. And this is where it's at with our people. They are connected to people who they are familiar with, and no matter whether or not they're doing anything for them via the public policy, they just kind of like roll with the flow.
Yeah, yeah, and how long? I'm not sure if it's 23 years in Shreveport, 35 years over. But how long have you been doing this grassroots, corporate grassroots political advocacy? How long have you been doing what you do?
Overall, 35, 36 years. 36 years. Started in New Orleans as a freshman at Xavier, and directly in Shreveport 26 years.
Okay, so during that time period, what has been the greatest thing that you learned about our people as it relates to politics? What is the one thing that has been the biggest lesson for you in all of that time as it relates to trying to get Black people on the grassroots level to actually do something? What has been the greatest thing that you learned?
They don't vote for the best candidate. They don't vote for their interest, and they only vote, the majority of them only vote for Democrats, period. And so if two Democrats are in the race and you have a very qualified entity that will advocate for their interests, but they're not a part of the status quo, they're going to go with the status quo Democrat. So that's what I've learned about our people. Also, I've learned that the focus on trying to get Reverend Chickenfoot to endorse your ass so that he can influence the parishioners to vote for you, you wasting money and wasting time. Because the preacher, ironically, only controls about 5 to 10% of his congregation. You'll do a better job of trying to talk to them at their home and approaching them directly versus trying to go, short circuit the process, because they know the game and they'll pimp you for money and then run across on you. And so those are the primary things that I've learned. And the influencers of the masses of our people, they'll sell our people out for catfish dinner and goddamn me a couple $100. That's just the reality.
Okay, so you and I have talked about privately, and you actually mentioned it a few minutes ago, the unrealistic perspective of our people believing that you're going to run for a higher office, and that's actually going to have some impact on the lives of people on the grassroots level, from the presidency to the Congress to the Senate, to maybe even, I guess, depending on what state you live in, even running for governor,
mayor, all this crazy.
So how do we get get our people to understand that numbers matter? Understanding the numbers of what you're running for matters. We have to get our people to understand that so that we will not focus on these big lofty goals, but on the goals that matter. So how do we get our people to understand the importance of the numbers? And does benign neglect, is that negated with local political control? How do we get our people to understand the numbers, and is benign neglect negated with local political control?
Well, let me take the benign neglect part first.
Okay.
The beautiful thing about benign neglect, and we don't even have to worry about the Republican Party when it comes to this issue at really any level, local, state, or federal. But benign neglect has actually created an opportunity for a legitimate grassroots third party.
Okay.
And so because based on the continued sellout nature of all of the people who represent the folks, the people have now become so discouraged that they don't go vote. The vast majority of them don't go vote.
That's right.
And so that's where your opportunity is at. So when I'm running for a position and somebody says, well, who are you running against? And I let them know I'm not running against any candidate. That was like, oh no, there are a few candidates in the race. I said, look, the only entities I'm running against is ignorance, apathy, pessimism, and cynicism. Because if I defeat ignorance, apathy, pessimism, and cynicism in the minds of 35% of the voters in my district who do not go vote, it doesn't matter what the Democrat or the Republicans do. I will win the race. But that's where the hard work comes in, because if you don't start this process a couple of years out, building that base for the people that you're going to endorse, you're going to constantly arrive at the same result, because the people are not going to vote for the best candidate just because they're the best candidate,
right,
just because I went to Xavier, just because I goddamn me do all of this empowerment work, just because I do all of these things. It doesn't matter, because the majority of those people they're not engaged in the process.
That's right.
And so benign neglect has actually created an opportunity for that situation to come. Now, as it relates to how we get them to see what is achievable versus what is lofty,
that's right,
unrealistic ambition, that comes from the physical reality that we have to create. Those of us who are on this phone call, those of us who I consider to be grassroots hybrid, those of us who are I consider to be candidates to become corporate grassroots revolutionaries, we have to understand that what our people perceive to be real is money, status, and materialism. That's just a fact. And you're not going to change that. So what we have to do is now create that mechanism from our perspective. We don't have to sell dope to get the money. We ain't got to pimp. We ain't got to do any of those things. But we got to figure a clever way of leveraging millions and billions of dollars to create the physical reality to go along with the programs and projects and businesses that we create, so that our people can see, like, damn, we get our toilet tissue, our money toilet tissue from Brother T. We get our soap from Brother Craig. We get our light bulbs from Brother Lloyd. They have to be able to physically see that we're supplying some of their wants, desires, and needs.
Right.
And then we'll be able to now invoke them to follow our agenda. And we don't need 100%.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need 80%.
Right.
We don't need 60 or 50. We get 35, 40% of our people at the local level. We take over so many spaces, it's unreal. And when you solidify the foundation, when you solidify that foundation at the local level, now you can start to gain leverage at the state level. Then you can gain leverage at the federal level, not for the whole goddamn state, but for your territory that you control.
Right.
The dope boys understand that. The dope boys could be a part of a massive network, right?
Mm-hmm.
They might be a part of a network that spans 6 goddamn states. Guess what they're gonna be focused on?
Their block.
Their goddamn block.
Matter of fact, their corner of that block.
They understand territorial rights.
That's right.
They understand licensing. They understand security. We got to protect our block.
That's right.
Because if we don't, we gonna get knocked off and they're gonna put somebody else in it.
Right.
So when we're talking about solidifying our territory and then gaining leverage, see now, all of these state legislatures throughout the United States, every state, majority white. The Congress and the Senate, majority white, right?
Yep.
If you control your local political apparatus at the legislative level, for the city council, for your county parish commission, for your school board, then you now step up and take control of the executive branch, the mayor's office, the county or parish commissioner, the superintendent of the school board, and then you get some judicial chips in the game, and now you control the law enforcement apparatus through the sheriff, the police department, and the goddamn marshal's department. Now, guess what? You can step the white folks at the state legislature because you ain't trying to push reparations at the state level or at the federal level. Because what do we know, Brother Tamani? What do we know about that issue?
About what issue?
Reparations.
Oh, we're not gonna get it because we don't have the numbers. We don't have. They're not gonna vote it in. We don't have no people.
So instead of playing the game and deceiving black folks on these emotional ass issues, we now go and maneuver with the white folks, not to try to make some unrealistic things happen at the national and region state level, but we bring the resources back to our territory. Because guess what both parties then are gonna do? They're gonna say, man, those Negroes in Shreveport, they're a shining example of what the Republican Party stands for. And then the Democrats will say, boy, those Negroes in Shreveport, and we're independent.
That's right.
We will be independent.
That's right.
But because we're controlling our block, our territory, and controlling the goddamn bag, we making this happen. Because one of the things that we're gonna convey as we continue to do the Black Gold Nation stuff, we're gonna show these Negroes, your damn city, when you take control of the city,
that's right,
and your parish to your county, it ain't just a goddamn city and a parish. It's actually a state.
That's right.
Actually a goddamn country.
Yes, it can be.
So now what can you do? You can go do import-export with Africa.
That's right.
You can go import-export. You don't need the goddamn governor to sign off. You don't need no damn Barack Obama to sign off on doing trade with Africa. If you're controlling the city council and the mayor's office, the people don't know what to do, and the ones who are in there are so incompetent and they're so bought off by the white power structure, they could care less. So we got to leverage the money, status, and materialism. That's where the corporate grassroots revolutionary perspective comes in.
Right.
And now when the people start to see us, hell, like Nino Brown figured it out. Let's get these niggas some turkeys and shit. You know? Nino Brown selling dope, but he giving you turkey. Frank Lucas figured it out.
So let me ask you a question before I go. The question just popped up in my head when you were speaking. Before I go to my next actual question, you said we have to create the physical reality for Black people to see, so they'll understand what we're trying to do and get on board with it. That presupposes that Black people should be able to see the benign neglect and get on board with something else, or be open to something else because the neglect is obvious. No?
Look, man.
Come on.
Although benign neglect is there and physical, the people don't know how to rationalize and think.
Okay.
So even when Trump brought out benign neglect when he was running against Hillary Clinton.
Yes, he did.
He said, vote for me, goddamn.
You have to lose.
You have to lose.
Right.
The goddamn Negro still Nah, he racist, but Hillary Clinton. And here she was a Goldwater girl, hardcore racist, but because she was married to another racist that played a saxophone and smoked goddamn weed in the White House.
Yeah.
And was willing to tell dumbass Negroes, you know what? I'm the first goddamn black president.
Identity politics. Okay, so.
And so, although benign neglect is right there, they can't get it.
Right.
So when I try to break down for them that Donald Trump was actually working for the Democratic Party,
yeah,
and not the Republican Party, it's too complex for the Negro to get. And so they'll argue up and down. And even with all of what Donald Trump did to hand deliver the damn presidency to Joe Biden, they still really lost, and they had to cheat to win the election because he did his job so well with the white folks that the bubbas who typically wouldn't vote, he inspired their ass.
Yes, he did.
And they so goddamn dumb because he was really going against them.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's just too complex, man. It's just too complex.
So if benign neglect has created an opportunity for an independent third political party, what would that look like? Specifically, what would it look like for us as we seek to do that? What does that look like?
Well, it looks specifically like what we've launched in Louisiana and what we're about to incorporate next week, well, over the next few days in Texas, and that's paid, the paid political apparatus. We're starting as a 527 political advocacy group, paid, the political advocates for independent democracy. And our slogan is real simple: let's get paid. So it looks like this sign right here. You can see behind me. You can see this melanated hand, dark hand connected with melanated red, connected with melanated brown, connected with melanated yellow, connected with very, very lightly melanated white. And what this is saying, when grassroots people of goodwill and high desire to change their course in life come together around the concepts of freedom, justice, culture, respect, and equity, and now we bring the green hand in that represents the youth, and our elders in represented by the purple hand, and we're all connected. Now we can have peace. Now, that don't mean we go and advocate for Latinos. That means Latinos who are grassroots got to advocate for their own issues, but we'll stand in solidarity with them as a coalition. This is really what Fred Hampton was attempting to do with his Rainbow Coalition, but he didn't really understand the full scope of how to go about doing it. And in the center of the hands being connected, you see the peace symbol, because every ethnic group has to have a piece of the pie, period. Mm-hmm. And so when we get into power positions, if we're really leaders, you don't just look out for our people, you carve a piece of the goddamn pie for the smaller groups who are rolling with us on a grassroots level. Because the majority is going to rule, but we have to now make sure that our coalition partners got some scraps, some stakes in the game, you see? And that's how we now start to function. So this is what an independent party would actually look like: grassroots, enlightened folks combining their human capital and resources together to now control their local spaces, and then gaining leverage at their state level and the federal level for their local space.
Fundamentally speaking, why is that political strategy so important?
So we take a city like Houston.
Come on.
Hell, y'all ain't got number 21% of the goddamn population.
That's all we got.
I mean, the Latinos are damn near 50% of the population.
And growing.
And then the white folks are 24, 25% of the population. And then you throw in the other goddamn ethnic groups that don't roll with the African dynamic. Okay, if you don't now start to build coalition partners at the grassroots level, the bourgeoisie factions that are controlling the other ethnic groups are going to now put the ice clamps on your ass.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to be forward thinking. So whether we are in the third position of the population chain like we are in Houston and pretty much like we are in Dallas, or we're in the primary position like we are in Shreveport and Augusta, Georgia, and in some of these other places like Detroit, when the grassroots agenda steps forward, we have to have coalition partners, whether we're running the show or we just have equity in the show, so that we can now leverage more results for all grassroots people so we can eat at the table. Because for the most part, this pie that you see, that's going 99% been going to white folks.
Right. And I'm glad you brought that back to the 99%. Because we always talk about the importance of getting our people to understand how this thing works. The philosophy, system, and game of capitalistic white supremacy racism. Now, this next question you've answered several times, but I got to tie it in to tonight's show title, an independent third party and the logo and the strategy. So at the very top of this thing, we have the plutocrats, plutocracy. Give us a brief definition of plutocracy.
This is a philosophy of the puppet masters of the entire game. They're the ones who tell you how much the goddamn paperclip is gonna cost. They're the ones that pull the rabbit out of the hat, and everybody else is wondering why. They tell you how much gas is gonna cost. They tell you where the traffic lights are gonna be. They're the ones that control the rules of the game. So they're the architects and the engineers of the philosophy system and the game.
They're the shot callers.
They're the shot callers. They're the masters.
They're the 1%.
Yeah.
All right. This is, of course, from last week's show, but I love this image because it, goddamn it, lays it out. So if the plutocrats are at the top, 1%, they're controlling everything. The shot callers, they're saying what's what. But this political philosophy of paid can, using the opportunity that benign neglect has created, that will allow us to push back against the control of the plutocrats, correct?
Yeah, at the local level.
Yeah, at the local level, because and that's everything, because that's where we are.
Hey, you remember when we were going over the plutocracy documentary?
Yeah. And
you remember the grassroots white folks that were battling the plutocrats, they had this concept, the one spark theory, and they believed by one physical event.
Right, everybody will get involved.
Yeah. So they were looking at it wrong.
Yeah.
They were looking at the physical event. See, they were in the game. Like, they were in the game.
Yeah.
But they were looking at the physical event from physical warfare that they could never win.
Never.
Right?
Yep.
The physical event ain't to go kill some of the plutocrats, right? Because they still in control of the policy. And they can still in control of the money.
Yeah.
The physical event, the spark, is for grassroots people who are spiritually and culturally rooted to leverage the goddamn money, status, and materialism.
Yep.
Because, again, if it's me generating $500 million in profits per year to money 400 million is gonna be reinvested.
That's right, because you don't need that much money. What you gonna do with it?
What gonna do with it?
That's right.
Now, I'm gonna force your punk ass to read some books.
Of course.
Force your punk ass. I ain't got no problem giving you some money for your business, but you gonna give me a business plan, okay? Bruh, I want every Negro to know when I'm sitting on $1 billion. I'm gonna have an open door policy. Oh, you want to do this? Bring your business plan.
No problem. That's right.
The Negro gonna be like, I hate
that. So some of them will. So if I'm sorry, were you about to say something else?
I'm gonna say, so it's gonna be up to us, those of us who are the hybrids, the spark, to recognize that the spark is not a physical spark of violence.
That's right.
It's a physical spark of intellectual gangsterism, where we counter these 4 components of gangsters.
There you go.
So that we now can show our people that physical reality that will spark them. But it ain't gonna be going up against the goddamn Green Beret and the really.
Yeah, you gonna lose that fight every single day. So that was my second to the last question. If this is the reality, if this is the hierarchy of gangsters, the amateur, intermediates, professionals, and the masters, if this is where it's at, if this is the reality, but the grassroots political activity can protect us, or at least put some buffers in place to give us a fair shot at a life worth living, then that third party development and the control of local politics has to be everything. We have to be putting our all into that by any means necessary, because it allows for us to create a reality by which these levels of gangsters in America don't necessarily have total control of what happens to our daily lives. Is that correct?
Exactly.
And if we don't do that, what happens?
You be singing that KC and JoJo song, dance like a burning, I just wanna. And all the pieces, you're gonna have life, goddammit.
Yeah.
You're gonna be on this plantation with life.
All right.
That's what the movie's about. That's what's gonna happen. You're gonna be back. You might not be picking goddamn cotton, but you're gonna be picking some kale and some spinach, some goddamn soybeans, something.
You know, that's a good point. We may need to do a show, because I don't know if Black people believe that they can be thrown back into slavery.
They're retarded. They don't.
Yeah. So we might need to do a show on how exactly that could happen.
Look. How did it stop happening? What made chattel slavery stop happening?
Public policy.
Exactly.
Yeah, just like everything else.
I mean, the Negro just retarded.
Yeah. Last question, brother. If you could give everybody one takeaway from tonight's show that they will have with them for the rest of their lives, it could only be one. What would that one takeaway you would give everyone who's with us now, watching the recording, that they will have for the rest of their lives? You only get one takeaway.
Stop rolling with the goddamn Democrats and the Republicans, and get linked up with PAID, get linked up with the BGN, so that we can take control of our local spaces and build a foundation for what we need to do. Stop listening to these crazy ass people talking about not voting, moving back to Africa, all this crazy ass unfounded foolishness. I'm gonna have some real estate in Africa. I'm gonna have some goddamn real estate in the Caribbean. But my base is Shreveport, Louisiana.
That's right.
Our people have built this goddamn country, and I'd be damned if I moved to Mexico talking about a better way of life, because I'm scared to compete against Jim Bob and Muffy and Buffy.
That's right.
Our people set this whole thing in place, and it's about time for us to stop playing goddamn games.
Yes, sir.
And handle our goddamn business.
And the beauty of it is that we can. We can.
Yeah, they did it under harsher situation.
So much more.
I know you ain't gonna hear me complaining.
That's right. That's
You're
right.
not gonna hear me complaining, period.
Cool. All right, brother. That concludes tonight's show. It's 10:01. As usual, we ended right on time. We're gonna open this thing up for questions and answers if anyone has any questions. So does anybody have a question or a comment for Brother Craig before we close this thing out? Any questions or comments at all for Brother Craig?
Brother Mike, I have one.
Go ahead, Brother Mike.
Hey, I just wanted, I didn't know if you guys have heard about Mark Willie Thomas. He's political giant in Southern California. While he was a member of the Board of Supervisors, the largest local unit of government in LA. Each is 5 supervisors. Each have about 2.5 million constituents. He was indicted on 20 counts of bribery and whatnot with the School of Social Work at SC, and the connection with getting contracts with SC for my department, DMH, and probation. But on top of that, he was trying to get his son, who came out of the legislature because of sexual harassment charges, try to funnel money to fund him the program of MSW and a job in a funded piece with that. So all this started back in 2017. But the thing is, what you had mentioned about these black and this is previous shows, everybody get a turn, and it's not. So I'm surprised. It's just more of an embarrassment, because I looked up to him. He'd given money to my local chapter, Black social workers, but he had the other side, and they just honored him and his wife for 30 years of service. That's why he didn't run for mayor. But you might read about it a little bit more. But my question is this: when we have these Negroes passing for black, trying to represent us, and I ain't stopped Maxine Waters.
Yeah.
Karen Bass is now running for. Now Karen is she's a little bit better than the rest. She's a member of our chapter, but she's running for mayor. And so you got Maxine and some of the other ones in the Congressional Black Caucus, that are just, but in terms of benign neglect applying to us and our constituents. So my question is, how do we, not from the legal standpoint, how do Negroes deal with him when he get out of jail? I mean, how do we neutralize his effect? Because now he's going to resign his position as city council. And who do you put in that position? So, because we're open, we're people of the sun. We take it and reject it. But how do we deal with him to get him right? Because he may have a redeemable value if and when he gets out.
Ain't no redeemable value, brother.
Okay.
Let me tell you something. At some point, our people are going to have to understand some Negroes are going to have to be put to sleep. I mean, and we ain't. That's when I say intellectual gangster. There's an intellectual part of this, but then there's a gangster part of this as well. And we just don't get it. When you look at the Dallas Cowboys, in a few weeks, they're going to play the New Orleans Saints. The damn New Orleans Saints can't expect the Dallas Cowboys to give them, the plays that they're going to run against the New Orleans Saints. They're on different teams. They're on different teams. And the objective is to win the game. And although all of them are football players, they play on different brands. They play for different organizations. And this is what we got to understand. The element of these folks who are out here pimping the people for their votes and their money in order for them to leverage contracts and jobs, brother. I mean, once you've been found out, you got to go. But the only way that we're going to neutralize this, Brother Mike, is if we have legitimate grassroots organizations. The Panthers tried. They just were young and they didn't have the full scope of understanding. But I give them the utmost respect for being in the game. And since them, I mean, and you know what's funny about the Panthers and these Negroes today, especially like Fred Hampton Jr., you know, the damn group, he called himself the Cubs or some foolishness like that. All of these cats have forgotten the number one thing that the Panthers were really focused on, and that was the fact that they were establishing themselves as a goddamn political party. They just focused on the public policy part, controlling the public policy part too late.
Yep.
You know, they started running for office in the early 70s versus, you know, the 60s and whatnot. But I take my hat off to them because they were kind of sort of trying to maneuver. Of course, they didn't have the entrepreneurship. Of course, Huey P got caught up. Of course, a few others got caught up. But I have to give them the credit because they showed what can happen. And yeah, they took out a lot of sellout ass Negroes. And some of them weren't necessarily sellouts, but if they heard that you was a sellout, you was gone. So, but there has to be a part that there is some consequence. There are some consequences to selling out in the Black community. And when people see that there are consequences for selling out our people, they won't be apt to jump up and run.
They'll be less inclined to do so. All right, we're gonna go to Brother Naru, then Brother Lloyd. Brother Naru.
Oh, Brother Lloyd can go first. We ain't seen him in a while. I want to hear what he got to say. I miss my brother.
All right, Brother Lloyd.
Oh man, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I've been out here working on the ground for real, you know, trying to turn this stuff into a reality, you know, what we talk about. But I was gonna say, everything that he said when we talk about redeeming some of these politicians, it's not gonna happen. Hold on.
Exactly.
It's just not gonna happen. And when I say it's not gonna happen, a lot of the times, like you say, it's like Kobe, like you wouldn't with them shooting in the gym, you're not gonna be able to backtrack and now get them to do what you want them to do. So thinking that we now can come and first of all, we can't pay for them to do everything that we need them to do. I was explaining to somebody else. So it ain't just about going to buy the politician. So it's deeper than that. So if we not raising them, we not holding them accountable from the ground up. Don't think that now once they didn't use you, you didn't help them, you didn't support them to get them in the office. Now we're gonna be able to hold their feet to the fire. How?
Yeah.
Holding somebody that get voted in, feet to the fire is do what? Voting them in or voting them out. So if you didn't vote them in, they definitely ain't worried about you voting them out. So I just think we got to think about that. And I know all the time, we like, man, we got to hold them accountable, like all that protest stuff, they love it. I heard one politician, DA of Missouri City, talking one day, he didn't know. He was just like, man, I'm gonna let them protest till they pants on fire. They don't mean anything to me. So, and I think that we got to take that type of stuff into account. Again, if we didn't help them to get there, don't think that we're gonna help them to, you know, we're gonna get them out and that they're gonna respect anything that we got to offer after the fact. So
exactly.
And it's also important to realize that, you know, and what Brother Craig is always saying, just because they look like us don't mean they are us, you know. So we got to understand that they might not be us from the very beginning. So there is no coming back to us because you were never one of us in the beginning because you're different.
Exactly.
You're a different faction.
And Lloyd brings up such an excellent point. Man, when you're a politician, not a grassroots advocate who's in politics. Like we're grassroots advocates in politics.
That's right.
When you're a politician, Brother Mike, You are accustomed to lying to people. That's what the hell you do.
That's right.
And all of this, like, we gonna go and stand in front of that damn house and whatnot. Have y'all ever seen that clip? I made a post about it. This damn brother, he was a city councilman in Cleveland, Ohio. And his ass was passing legislation on people raising their people's water bills. And he hadn't even paid his goddamn water bill. And his water bill was like thousands of dollars. And his water never got cut off. So, you know, Negroes scared to ask his ass a question. I'm gonna send y'all the video if y'all ain't seen it. And so this white reporter, very nice, quiet, he asked him, what about your water? Lord, that Negro told him, hey, that's being handled. I got that. He said, but now my records show that you thousands of dollars in the rear. Did I tell you that shit is being handled? Now, if you don't get out of my damn face, I'm gonna kick your ass. If you want to fuck with me, I'm gonna do it, man. These people love to lie. They love to lie. They embrace the lie. And some of them will even join protests to create the illusion that they are against it. It's all, there's another term. Somebody say, what do y'all want me to leave you with? I told you one thing. Always remember this term, research this term, political theater. Most of what you see go down is like a screenplay. It's like a movie. They theatrically perform, all right? They'll get something, like if there's a Negro who's rolling with the white folks, I want y'all to listen to me. If there's a piece of legislation and the Negro wants to roll with the white folks, but he got to save face for the Negroes, he'll tell the white folks, okay, look, I got to go out there and I got to roll with them, but I'm with y'all because y'all know, you know, I did this, that, and the third, but I got to save face. And so, and if such and such gonna roll with me, we got to save face. So it looked like we went down fighting for the team. Negroes don't even know those kind of deals are cut, man. And so when I tell them, they be like, niggas, what you, like, that's not how that works. I'm like, yo, man, y'all just don't understand. They play these kind of games. So the point that Lloyd brought out is excellent because they'll just let your ass march and yell and do all, because they know what? You ain't gonna do it every day.
Right.
Every goddamn day. And then you better not be behind on no damn bills or no rent where they can come mess with you because they will get in your goddamn life. All right.
All right, Brother Naru.
Yeah, that was powerful right there, bro. Well, you know, we celebrating 55 years of the Panthers out here this month, so we're doing a lot of events and stuff honoring the Panthers. But I'm more impressed with what we're doing on the political front. So, like you already know, we've defunded the police. We have a Black culture zone now, $125 million zone for Black business. We've established a Black and Brown Acoma marketplace here, farmers marketplace. So we're really doing progressive stuff. We have 3 Black council members. The beautiful thing about Oakland, you can only vote for the district you're in. I don't know if that's like that everywhere else. I believe other places you can vote for whoever, but you can only vote for your district. So since we have some predominantly Black neighborhoods, we're able to get predominantly we're able to get Black council people. So we've just identified one to run for mayor. We're all going to get behind them. And so I was going to ask if you had that position of a mayor, what would you do for the city? Because these are some of the things we're going to be looking into asking for, like what we want from this mayor if we decide to run them for candidate. We think we are. We vetted them pretty good. We think we're going to use this. We're going to get behind this individual. But just a couple of things maybe you could suggest.
So the number one thing, the most powerful position in your city are the three city councilmen that you all have, because they control the money.
Without a doubt.
So that's the first thing. A lot of people focus on the executive branch, but the city council controls the money. But the thing you want to pin him down on, since you all have some cultural flavor, Nauru, you want to look at some import-export relationships with Africa, some import relationships, export relationships, because y'all got a major port.
Yes, we do.
So you all focus on import-export relationships with Africa, the Caribbean, some South American, Central American, melanated places, so that becomes a major thing. Also, contract procurement opportunities for African American businesses, Brother Nauru. Quite sure if I look at you all's budget, it'll probably be well over $1 billion, probably $2 billion in the contract procurement portion of that is probably going to be $1 billion.
Unfortunately, it's not that high, brother. It's only 400 million. Unfortunately, it's really
wow. Is that all?
Really, and San Francisco is about 2 billion.
Wow.
But yeah, Oakland is 400. Yep.
That's crazy.
I was just at the meeting, and my face dropped too when I saw how much it was. Very low. Actually, it's 450 million. But
wait a minute, what's our population?
397 some thousand, something like that.
Y'all budget less than ours, God.
Yeah, bro. I'm telling you, somebody doing something dirty somewhere.
That's hard for me to believe that, but
Bro.
definitely contract procurement opportunities, because that's where a lot of the money goes. But you got to have some firms that's ready to step into a variety of different areas, not just in construction and whatnot. There are a lot of contracts. There are dog food. I mean, toilet paper. It's all kind of goddamn contracts to tap into. So I would get him to give a commitment to that. And the next thing is being committed to an entrepreneurial initiative through the Opportunity Zone tax credit. I think if he rose with like those three types of things, entrepreneurship in general, the Opportunity Zone tax credit, and the import-export deal, with what you are already have working, y'all will be able to make some things happen. But I'll talk with you off camera so we can come up with a full slate of things that you all can really get in there and rock and roll with. But I'm gonna have to research out, but God damn.
Hey, if it's wrong, that's what the city council people told us at this meeting the other day. I was like, what?
Hey, Nauru, what's the demographics of Oakland, approximately?
You mean like racially makeup?
Yes, racially, yeah.
Right now, truthfully, I don't know, Brother Tumani. We're very diverse, though. The Bay Area is super diverse, bro.
Okay.
And, but where's, there's segregated pockets in the city, of course. So that's how we're able to actually have these city council. I believe if it was spread out and we voted for every district, we wouldn't have this opportunty. So we're definitely fighting, make sure they're not trying to take that away. Because
because they like Craig says, they do recalibrate.
Oh, they try.
I mean, they're redrawing. They have redrawn political lines here in Texas where there are no longer any majority Black districts.
Wow.
So them, I mean, man, there was a movement, boy, no doubt. So
that's crazy. Well, they abandoned these areas out here. So like we'll take them.
Opportunity.
Keep it moving.
Opportunity. Okay. Any more questions, Nauru? You have any more?
No, that was good. Thank you, Brother Craig. I look forward to speaking with you offline.
Cool. Yeah, and Nauru, that's an opportunity, as you all just got through talking, and I'm looking at you all's numbers right now. You all have right now, the 2018, it was 35% white, 35.1% white, it says here, non-Hispanic portion of the white is 29%. So Hispanic white is 6.1% of that 35.1. And then you guys are third behind Hispanic Latino. Y'all are 25.2, the Hispanic 26.5, and then the Asian 15.3. And see, this is another good example, Tamani, of why the coalition of a grassroots ethnic coalition is important, because if you got a coalition between African American, Latino, Hispanic, Asian, y'all can control the goddamn city.
That's right. That's
well,
right.
pretty much that's what we've been doing. So that's how we've been able to move stuff in city council by collaborating. But you know, you got to make sure that everybody's agenda is on the same page, and that's
sure.
what's been, you know,
sure.
our problem sometimes. So just
and that's why I said, Naru, those four components: freedom, justice, culture, respect, and equity. They got to be. I mean, that has to be on the goddamn table.
No question. No question.
And
thank you, brothers.
They'll play you to get you to roll with their agenda, and they be to pimp you, and then they flip flop on your ass with your goddamn issue. That's why I say we're not here to advocate for no other ethnic group but ours, but we'll stand in solidarity as they lobby for their issues. We'll stand with them, but we're not going to no goddamn Chinatown and lobbying for you.
That's right. That's right.
But we got work we got to do for ourselves.
No
and
doubt.
vice versa. They can stand with us. I wouldn't expect them to come and deal with some of the gang banging situations in certain parts of Oakland. But you can stand with us to say, hey, you know, we cool with y'all, but you know, because now y'all ain't even got no damn basketball team now, right? Y'all done lost the Raiders, y'all done lost the Warriors.
Well, I mean, the Warriors have always been the Bay Area team. So they played in San Francisco first, then they've been here in Oakland. So no, we don't have them. They're not here in Oakland per se anymore. And we don't care if the A's leave. I don't care if none of them leave. I mean, get out of here. All they do is gouge the city and get our taxpayer money to build these damn stadiums anyway. Now the thing I'll say about the Warriors, that their owners did build their own stadium in San Francisco, but everybody else took our taxpayer money. Like, nah, you know, y'all ain't giving that many jobs back. Now they want to move the A's to the port and then bring all the pollution over there where all the black people are. So we're not really trying to not with all that, bro.
That's right.
Okay, cool, good go, man.
All right. Does anybody else have a question or comment for Brother Craig? Any question or comment going once? Question or comment going twice? All right, Brother Craig, closing remarks.
I just want to thank you guys for participating and have you guys to send some prayers down here to Shreveport. I lost one of my good colleagues, Richard Snapper Washington. He was gunned down in New Orleans right after 2 days after opening up his wing taxi location down in New Orleans. And it just gets back to the point of why I say what I say on my post: until Black lives begin to matter to unconscious savage Negroes, they will never matter to any other ethnic group. And you know, it's a unfortunate reality, and we got to start, you know, again, handling our business, because these cats are throughout the country taking out positive people. We're trying to make some things happen. But I appreciate you guys and look forward to seeing you guys next week.
All right. On that note, I'm going to let, in honor of what Brother Lloyd said and what Craig said after that, I'm going to let Brother Cedric the Entertainer close us out this evening, because I love Cedric the Entertainer. And after the clip, I'm going to log off. You guys have a wonderful evening. God bless. We will be doing our next movie review, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday. We're going to be doing the Book of Eli. So Brother Craig and I, this is one aspect of our adult education program in the Black Gold Nation. We also have a bi-weekly movie review, and the next movie review is the Book of Eli. And all of our movie reviews are absolutely phenomenal. If you've seen the movie after the review, you're going to wonder, did I see that movie? because he does such a fantastic job as with everything else. So with that, I'm going to let Cedric the Entertainer close this thing out, and then I'll be out.
No, we can't handle no black president. I mean, because, you know, what's the deficit, like $6 trillion or something? You know, black people, we don't deal with debt like that. That'd be too much pressure for a black president. $6 trillion, man, you'd be sitting at the White House, man, talking about, hey, dog. Hey, man, hey, tell him I ain't got it, man. Shit, man. Tell him I can put something on it. I can put a little bit on it. Ask them if they'll take a post-dated check or something. See if they'll do that. Black president, man, we can't handle all that same stuff. We couldn't deal with that Monica Lewinsky. The black people, we can't be under the eye of being a president. We don't have nobody all in our business like that. We couldn't have been the president with that Monica Lewinsky nonsense going on. Black president don't do all that getting fronted on. You just jump up and yell our business all out. We don't play like that. Black president been at a press conference when, you know, doing this thing, reporter would have jumped up here. Tell us about Monica Lewinsky. What? Hold on, dog. Nigga, what you gonna ask me in front of my wife and everything, nigga? Hold my jacket, dog. That's when everybody started leaving. The president fight too much. He always fighting. That's why I don't go nowhere where he is. He's just like Anthony Mason. He always...
All right, y'all have a good night. God bless.